I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing out some late-night confession about my wife, but here I am. Her name's Jessica, and I honestly thought we had something solid. We'd been together for almost 6 years, married for 3. I was building my startup, pouring everything into it. Late nights, weekends, the usual grind. Jessica was always a bit bitchy, but I figured that was just her personality. She's sharp-tongued, quick with a sarcastic remark, but she was also generous in her own way, or so I thought. Looking back now, I should have seen the warning signs. Little things, really. She'd go out with her friends and come back late, but she'd always have some excuse. I was just grabbing drinks with Lisa, or went to the gym, you know how I am. But I noticed her phone was more locked down than ever. She'd hide it when I'd walk into the room, and I caught her deleting messages a couple of times. She claimed I was paranoid, that I didn't trust her. Honestly, I tried, I really did. But the gut feeling was there, lurking in the back of my mind. Things got worse when I started noticing her phone bills. There were calls at strange hours, texts that didn't make sense. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I told myself it was just paranoia. But then came the launch party for my startup. I'd been busting my ass for months preparing for it, trying to get investors interested, setting everything up. It was supposed to be a big night. I put all my hopes into it. Jessica was supposed to be there, supporting me, or so I thought. The night of the launch, I was in the conference room, pitching to a room full of potential investors. I was nervous but feeling confident. Jessica had said she'd be there, helping me out with some last-minute things. But I kept glancing at my phone, checking for any messages. About halfway through my pitch, I noticed her phone buzz constantly, texts coming in, her nervously typing away, sometimes slipping her phone into her purse quickly whenever I glanced her way. Then I saw it. A message from a number I didn't recognize, and it was a picture of her, with someone else. Someone I knew, a guy named Mark, one of my biggest investors. It was a selfie. Jessica in a hotel room kissing him. I felt like someone punched me in the stomach. My hands started trembling. I froze mid-sentence, trying to process what I'd just seen. I remember my voice cracking as I kept talking, but inside, everything was crashing down. The room spun. Did I just see what I thought I saw? Was my wife cheating on me with a guy who was supposed to be part of my future? I didn't know whether to confront her right there or wait until after the presentation. I couldn't focus after that. My mind kept replaying that stupid selfie. I watched her sitting across the room, pretending to be busy with her phone, and I suddenly felt like I didn't know her at all. She'd been lying about everything, about her securing funding, about her evenings out. She wasn't just sneaking around. She was actively betraying me right under my nose, even as I was pouring my soul into my startup, trying to make something real. I still remember how cold and numb I felt, knowing that right now, she was probably in some hotel room with him while I was out. Here, risking everything for a dream she was probably destroying behind my back. It was the kind of shock that leaves you shaken. I had no idea what to do next. I wanted to believe she was lying, that it was some kind of mistake, but the evidence was staring right at me. That picture wasn't fake. It was real, and it was her. That's when everything changed. I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to confront her, find out what the hell was going on, and figure out what kind of person she really was. I waited until the pitch was over. Honestly, I don't even remember how I managed to get through my presentation with that mess swirling in my head. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the notes, but I kept going. When it was finally done, I excused myself, told everyone I needed a minute, and took out my phone. I couldn't just let it sit there. This wasn't some minor disagreement. This was betrayal on a scale I'd never imagined. I pulled up the message, zooming in on that damn selfie. It was perfect proof. Jessica smiling with lips pressed against another man, Mark. The guy who'd been acting weird around her lately, always trying to get her to meet him late at night. All those late texts finally made sense. I stared at it for what felt like forever, feeling my stomach twist. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't sure how to start. I found her in the lobby, walking hurriedly toward the exit with her purse swinging. I blocked her path. She looked surprised, annoyed even, like I'd interrupted her important plans. I held up my phone. "Who is this?" I asked, voice trembling but firm. Her eyes darted to the screen and her face instantly turned defensive. "Oh, come on, James," she snapped, brushing past me. "It's nothing, just some stupid joke that got blown out of proportion. Don't be so paranoid." I didn't buy it, not for a second. "That's you," I said, voice rising. "That's you in that hotel room kissing him. Care to explain what the hell is going on?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "God, you're such a drama queen. It's not what you think. Yeah, I was there, but it was just a stupid business meeting, an asterisk appointment with someone about funding. Mark's just a guy I was talking to about my own projects. It's not like I'm cheating on you or anything." I stared at her, feeling like I'd just been punched again. "You expect me to believe that, after everything I saw? You lied to me about your meetings, about your nights out. You've been sneaking around for weeks, Jessica. How long has this been going on?" She crossed her arms, sneering. "Oh, give me a break. Don't act like you're some saint. You're too busy with your stupid startup anyway. I had my reasons. I was tired of pretending to be interested in your little business talks. I needed something for myself." I clenched my fists. "You're damn right I've been working my ass off trying to get this off the ground. And you're out screwing some investor while I'm risking everything for us. Do you even realize what you've done?" She rolled her eyes again, walking past me. "You're overreacting. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I was just what?" I interrupted. "Just having sex with him because that's what it looks like. You've been lying, cheating, hiding your damn phone while I was out here trying to build something real." Her face twisted into a mixture of anger and contempt. "You think I owe you some kind of explanation? Seriously, you're so damn clueless. I was just having a little fun. It's not like I'm in love with him or anything. It was just sex. No big deal." I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How could she be so callous? She was acting like this was just some mistake, some stupid fling. No, it was betrayal, deep, raw betrayal. I wanted to scream at her, call her every dirty name I could think of, but all I could do was stand there, stunned, trying to process what I just heard. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, her sneaky texts, that damn picture, her dismissive attitude. I felt like I'd been punched again and again, all over my chest, my gut, my head. I didn't know what hurt more, that she'd cheated or that she was so dismissive about it, so unapologetic. It was like I was invisible to her. I'd given her everything, my time, my dreams, my trust, and she returned it with lies and sex with some investor. I knew I had to decide what to do next, whether to confront her again or just cut her loose and walk away. But one thing was clear, this was no longer just a fight over a mistake. It was a full-blown betrayal of everything I thought we had. I felt lost, angry, betrayed, but also strangely sad. That's what made it worse. I never thought I'd be that guy, the one getting cheated on, the one finding out his wife was lying right to his face at one of the most important nights of his life. And yet, here I was. I woke up the next morning with that heavy, sinking feeling in my chest. My mind was a mess of anger, confusion, and disappointment. I kept going over everything I'd seen, everything she'd said, trying to find some way to rationalize it, but there was no saving her excuses. That whole weekend I stayed in a fog, mostly drinking, trying to numb the pain, avoiding any contact with Jessica. But I knew I couldn't avoid it forever. Finally, I decided I needed to get some answers. I called her, but she didn't pick up. I left a few messages demanding she tell me the truth. That's when I started digging. I wanted to see if I could find any more evidence, anything that could confirm my suspicions beyond that picture. I didn't want some half-assed explanation. If she was cheating, I needed proof. I started by looking at her phone, going through her messages and call logs. Honestly, I hoped I'd find some secret conversation or code she'd been using, anything that could give me clarity. But what I found was worse than I expected. She'd been covering her tracks pretty well, deleting most texts, but I noticed some strange calls coming from an unknown number. I traced the number, and it turned out to be registered to a private number service. Classic. She was trying to hide everything. I also noticed her email account had some suspicious activity. She'd been meeting with Mark, probably in those late-night meetings she'd claimed were business. But what really shot me in the gut was the security footage. I managed to get access to the office security system, and what I saw chilled me to the bone. The footage showed Jessica sneaking out of our apartment early in the mornings, then returning late at night, exactly the time she'd been gone when I'd asked her where she was. But the worst part was the footage of her in the office during what should have been working hours. She was in the conference room with Mark and they were talking intimately. I saw her lean in close, whispering. Then she laughed and they both moved to the side out of view of the camera. I couldn't believe it. They were having sex right in the office during my startup pitch. The thought made my stomach turn. I had missed the signs, ignored the red flags, and now I was seeing it all laid out in black and white. The betrayal cut deep. I'd trusted her. We built a life together, or so I thought. And here she was, screwing around with one of my biggest investors during my most important night. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I felt like a fool for not seeing the signs sooner. All those late nights, the excuses, the secretive behavior, she'd been lying to me the whole time. And it wasn't just a fling. It was strategic plan with someone who was supposed to be helping me build my future. Instead, she was destroying it. That realization sparked something dark inside me. I knew I couldn't just confront her and expect some kind of honest explanation. I had to come up with a plan, something calculated, something that would hit her where it hurt. I started thinking about how I could make her pay for what she'd done. Not just with words, but with actions. I wasn't just angry, I was furious. I wanted her to feel the pain, the betrayal that I was feeling 10 times over. I decided I'd gather more evidence, make sure I knew everything before I said a single word to her again. I couldn't afford to underestimate her. She was a master manipulator, and I knew she'd try to twist this around. I wanted to be ready. I wanted to make sure she understood that I wasn't some naive fool who'd be played like a game. This wasn't just about cheating. This was about trust, betrayal, and the life we'd tried to build. And I was determined to make her regret it. That's when I started to plan my next move, something cold, calculated, and ruthless. I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without consequences. It was time she learned what real betrayal looked like. After spending the weekend obsessing over everything I'd uncovered, I finally decided I had to confront her face to face. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. That day, I didn't even call ahead. I just showed up at the apartment, my mind racing with plans and anger. Jessica was there, lounging on the couch, her usual bitchy smirk plastered on her face when she saw me walk in. "Wow," she said, arching her brow. "Look who finally decided to show up. You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't hold back. I slammed the file of evidence I'd printed out on the table, letting it scatter across the surface. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "Because I saw the security footage. I saw you leaving the office during my pitch, sneaking around, having sex with Mark right there in the conference room. How could you do this to me?" Jessica's eyes widened for a moment, then she scoffed. "Oh, please, you're overreacting. You think I'd cheat on you with some investor? That's just ridiculous. You're losing it, James. Seriously, you're so insecure. Maybe if you spent less time working on your stupid startup, you'd notice how I feel." I clenched my fists. "Don't give me that bullshit. You're lying again. I have the proof. The security footage, the texts, the calls. You've been screwing him behind my back from the very beginning. And don't pretend like it's just fun, because I saw the way you looked in that selfie. You're in love with him, aren't you?" She rolled her eyes, her voice dripping with disdain. "God, you're pathetic. You think I'd fall for that? Mark's just a guy I was talking to about funding. Yeah, I was at the office, but it was all about work. You're so damn clueless, just like everyone says. I don't owe you explanations about everything I do. I'm my own person, James. Maybe you should get a real job instead of obsessing over me all the time." That was the breaking point. I reached for the evidence, my voice trembling with a mixture of rage and heartbreak. "You lying bitch. You've been fucking him and you think I do know. You were in that hotel room kissing him while I was up here risking everything for this damn startup. How could you be so selfish?" She stood up abruptly, face twisted in anger. "You think I care about your stupid business? That's all you ever cared about, your ego, your stupid dreams. Well, guess what? I'm done pretending. I don't need you. I don't need your money, your startup, or your stupid trust. I've got my own life now." Her words hit me like a punch in the stomach. I felt the wind knocked out of me. I'd spent years building something, fighting for this relationship, and now she was acting like it was nothing, like I was nothing. I looked her in the eye. "You're a damn fool if you think this is over," I said through clenched teeth, "because I'm not letting you walk away that easy. You've betrayed me, and I'm going to make sure you regret it." She laughed bitterly. "Good luck with that, James. Whatever you do, I don't care. Just don't contact me again." She grabbed her purse, headed for the door, and threw a parting shot over her shoulder. "Maybe next time you'll pay more attention instead of wasting your time with your stupid startup." As she slammed the door behind her, I felt a storm of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, and something darker I couldn't quite name. I knew I'd have to deal with the fallout, but right now all I could think about was how much I'd been used, how she'd lied and manipulated me for her own selfish gain. I'd never felt so humiliated and furious all at once. I sat down on the couch, staring at the wall, trying to process everything. I realized that my life was about to change forever. The betrayal had shattered what little trust I had left, and I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I had to decide whether to fight for what I still believed in or cut her out completely. Either way, the game was on, and I was about to go all in. The days that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and endless reflection. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her smirk, the way she dismissed everything I'd worked for, like I was some fool for trusting her. I knew I had to act, but I wasn't exactly sure how. Part of me wanted to destroy her, that was the revenge I craved. But another part of me, the part that still remembered the good times, wanted something more calculated, more devastating in a way she'd never see coming. I started by digging deeper. I hired a private investigator just to confirm everything I'd seen on the footage and to find out if she'd done this before. I wanted to be sure I had all the facts, all the details, no slip-ups, no assumptions. The pie uncovered more, like her frequent late-night meetings, secret conversations, things I'd suspected but couldn't prove until now. He also found out she'd been in contact with other investors, not just Mark. She was playing a game, and I was the only one left in the dark. Meanwhile, I was trying to figure out what my next move should be. I realized I couldn't just confront her again. She'd already dismissed me like I was nothing. I needed to make her feel pain, to hit her where it hurt most. That's when I started planning my revenge, something cold, calculated, and legal. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to make her regret her choices, make her realize that she'd lost something she'd never get back. I reached out to some old contacts, lawyers, a financial advisor, and even someone who specialized in corporate espionage. I needed leverage, proof, anything that would make her reconsider her choices. I also knew I had to protect my startup, which was suffering from the distraction, and start thinking about my future without her. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to think about what I really wanted, something that didn't include Jessica's lies, her manipulations, or her sexcapades with Mark. I decided I'd get a divorce, but not just a simple separation. I wanted to expose her on a bigger scale. I wanted the world to see who she really was, a manipulative, selfish woman who'd use anyone to get what she wanted. I was going to make sure her reputation took a hit, not just in our lives but beyond. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about not letting her get away with destroying everything we'd built. I spent nights drafting a plan, gathering evidence, preparing for a confrontation that would shake her to her core. I knew she'd try to spin this, to manipulate people, to walk away unscathed. But I was done letting her do that. She needed to see that there was no more hiding, no more lies. I was going to take everything she cared about, her reputation, her freedom, her future, and turn it against her. I also reached out to a lawyer who specialized in exposing infidelity and financial betrayal. We crafted a plan to not only divorce her but to prove her unfaithfulness publicly if she tried to deny everything. I wanted her to feel vulnerable, exposed, and broken, just like I felt. I was ready to fight dirty if I had to. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming my dignity. In the back of my mind, I knew this was going to get ugly. Jessica was a master manipulator, and I had no doubt she'd do everything in her power to spin this around. But I was prepared. I'd come too far to back down now. I'd lay everything out in the open and I'd make her regret ever crossing that line. That's the point I reached, where I knew I had no choice but to go all in and see how far I could push her before she broke. This was war and I wasn't going to lose. Not this time. The day I finally made my move, I felt like I was stepping into a battlefield I'd prepared for weeks. I had all my evidence organized, screenshots, security footage, recorded conversations, everything. I met with my lawyer, laid it all out, and we crafted a plan to serve Jessica with divorce papers that night. But more than that, I arranged for the evidence to be delivered to her employer, to Mark, and to a few mutual contacts who could help broadcast the truth if she tried to spin her story. When I showed up at her apartment with the papers in hand, she looked surprised, almost confused. I could see the panic creeping into her eyes, like she knew this was the end of her game. I didn't say much. I just handed her the documents and looked her dead in the eye. It's over. You've betrayed me, lied to everyone, and now everyone's going to know what you really are. I'm done playing your fool. The silence between us was deafening. Her face twisted into a mixture of fury and disbelief, but she didn't say a word. She just stared at the papers, then at me, as if I'd suddenly become a stranger. Over the next few days, everything unraveled fast. The evidence I provided was enough to make her lose her job, her reputation, and her credibility. Mark was furious when he saw the videos and messages, and he cut all ties with her immediately. Mutual friends, once blind to her manipulations, started questioning her. The news spread quickly. Jessica was exposed for her lies, her infidelity, her selfishness. I watched all of it happen from the sidelines, feeling a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. It was like I'd finally taken back control of my life, but at what cost? The divorce was finalized within months. Jessica tried to fight, to manipulate, to spin her side of the story, but it was all too late. The truth was out and she was left with nothing. I focused on rebuilding my startup, on fixing the damage her betrayal had caused. It was hard, but I started to feel like I was regaining some sense of normalcy, of purpose. Every day I reminded myself that I'd survived, stronger, wiser, and more careful about who I trusted. Looking back now, I realize I learned a lot from this hellish experience. Trust is fragile. People can deceive you in ways you never expect, especially when they pretend to be something they're not. Jessica was a bitchy, manipulative woman who thought she could get away with anything, but I proved her wrong. I took control, I fought back, and I made sure she paid for her actions. I don't regret what I did. I just wish I hadn't had to go through it all to find out who she really was. Now I'm focusing on myself. I've started therapy, worked on my confidence, and learned to listen to my gut. I still have scars, but they remind me to be more cautious, to value honesty, and to never ignore the small signals when something feels off. Life's too short to waste on lies and betrayal. If I've learned anything, it's that revenge isn't about revenge itself. It's about reclaiming your dignity and ensuring the truth comes to light no matter what. Jessica's gone, and honestly, I'm better off without her. It's a brutal lesson in trust, yes, but also in resilience. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find out who you really are. I hope no one else has to go through what I did, but if they do, I hope they remember what it takes to stand up, fight back, and move forward. Life keeps going, better, stronger, and more real, when you finally decide to take control.